So I'm going to tell you a story about what not to do when you leave the military. There's some really good lessons there, and I wish someone had told me this before I left. Someone's written to me. He's a wing commander in the Royal Air Force. I think he's in the admin supply, that kind of role. And he said, Tim, I saw your latest video, and a lot of it resonated with me, especially the biting the hands bit that I talked about. He says that he also feels that he needs a change, a bit trapped. He's interested in how I cushioned my landing from the military and exited that bubble, as he describes it, military to civilian life. When I came out of the military, I came out in mid-2018 and pretty much went straight into the whole kind of George Floyd, BLM, LGBT plus stuff that manifested itself in the later years on that one. And although technically I had a bit of a contracting job when I first came out for about 6 months, paid reasonably well, after that I couldn't find any work. And I couldn't find any work, like none at all. It didn't matter what I looked at, nothing, no one wanted to employ me at all. It was really weird. And I think it was just that time, if you know what I mean. And I kind of started thinking that something was wrong with me. So I thought I'd tell you this story that happened to me, and hopefully this will help this guy not do what I did, or maybe just not end up like I ended up. All right. So I came outside the military from a flying career as a flying instructor for 20 years. I've spoken about that before. And I didn't want to go to the airlines. My brother was in the airlines. I didn't want to go into private jet flying, as in military contract work overseas. China was just getting big. Middle East. I didn't want to do that. So I thought I'd start a business. As it turns out, starting a business, especially in those times, was pretty difficult. We went into COVID and everything else as well. Is that like a word I'm not allowed to say on YouTube anymore? I don't know. But either way, so the whole place shut down. I was stuck in the house and I was getting these chest pains. I look back at this now and it's funny. I was getting these chest pains and they were really big. I wasn't laughing mad. It was going on for like 9 months. And like, because I'm a dude, I was researching it on the internet. What are chest pains about? I was mid-40s. Just come out of a fast jet cockpit. And literally, I was just getting worse. And so I bought one of those pressure monitors, blood pressure things. And it was up around 180 over, I think it's supposed to be 120 over 80. And it was up around 160, 170, 180 over a lot more, like the 100. My wife, as a health professional, was really concerned. You've got to go and see a doctor, etc. I never did, though. They didn't want to know what they were going to tell me. And I was drinking, of course, massively alcoholic. I had suicidal ideation. I wasn't doing any exercise, eating badly. You know, just feeling shit about yourself because I couldn't find any work. And my wife was kind of providing for the family, right? And I'm thinking, how does this work? What do I do? And it was getting worse. This chest pain was getting worse. And eventually I was by myself in the house and I had this pain coming down my left arm. And I knew that was a symptom, like, you know, you get that left arm pain. And it was getting so tight. I got in the car and I just drove to Hereford A&E, which is up the road here, about 20 to 40 minutes away, shall we say. And I went in there to A&E and I just said, can I just sit here? I think I'm having a heart attack. And the young girl behind the counter looked at me and went, yeah, sure you can, sit over there. And eventually they called me and I went in and there was another young girl and she said, tell me what's going on. I said, I think I'm having a heart attack. I said, I'm 45. I think I'm having a heart attack. I said, but pain across here. And it was really bad, by the way. I'm not joking. All down my left side here. I was like doing this. I was like, ah. She's like, all right, let me rig you up to the machine then. She stuck all these things on, you know, like, is it ECG? I guess I know what that is. And took some readings. And she went, okay, go and sit back outside. And she actually asked me what was going on. I told her, you know, just come out of the military. Problems with my relationship, massive problems actually. I'm honest with doctors. I was like, I'm alcoholic completely. There's a whole world. I can't find work. I've been out of work for about 2 years. Not doing any fizz. There was a whole world of other stuff going on. And she was like looking at me like this. And she was like, I've never had someone say that before to me. She said, I've never had that. Anyway, she took this. I was like, all right, cool. She took this piece of paper and she gave it to me. Although she didn't, she kept it. And she said, I'll get a doctor to come and see you. A doctor came and see me. I went in with this Iranian doctor, about my size. You know, both had a bit of weight on. Lovely dude, my age. He was from Iran. He was a lovely guy. And he said, so what's going on? I told him the story. He looked at my stuff. He goes, well, you're not having a heart attack, mate. I said, all right. He goes, you're not having a heart attack. He said, what was your job in the military? And I told him, I said, I taught people to fly fast jets. He goes, and what happened when you left? I said, well, just stopped flying. And I left. He said, what was the transition? What did you do for the transition? I said, well, there isn't a transition, really. They tell you how to buy a house. They tell you how to St. James's Place come and they tell you to invest money in St. James's Place. It's a bit of a corporate sell. They have all these things that they send you on. It doesn't make sense. It's all designed for maybe, you know, young men that have been in for 5 years in the British Army, not for guys that have been for 20 years. He goes, right, okay. He goes, I've worked it out. He goes, I've seen this before. He said, this is Hereford. This is Hereford A&E. And he said, we get a lot of people come in here from the base, Sterling Alliance, and they're doing the same thing as you are. They're wired, fucking wired. He goes, mate, you're just having, what you're having is like a massive panic attack that's lasting months and months. He goes, out here in Civvy Street, this is chaos to you. He says, you don't understand it. He says, in your cockpit, at low level, flying around, he says, as a doctor, I wouldn't know what I was doing. I'd be in a world of pain. He says, but for you, that's normal. He says, the military for you is normal. All that facing death, running towards guns, all that low-level flying, all the engines starting behind you, all the typing in the cockpit. He said, that's normal for you. He goes, out here, this is chaos. Because your brain can't understand this. He says, out here, people don't turn up on time. They don't do what you tell them. He goes, don't worry about it. He goes, you'll be fine. In a couple of weeks, you'll be fine. Now I've told you this, and you'll go away and you'll overthink it. You'll be fine. And he was right. I was fine. And it's about, I think it was just over a week or something. The pain started to go away when I left that room, pretty much. It's the weirdest thing. I'm telling you this because I wouldn't, if someone else had told me this, I wouldn't have believed it. I wouldn't have believed that your brain could manifest that much pain in the body. I fucking wouldn't have believed that. No one could have convinced me that. When I was in the military, I used to think the mind controlled the body. Because the mind told my hands what to do, move the throttle, move the stick, and I thought that the mind kept me alive. And I don't believe that now. I think the body absolutely keeps the score. Hit the comments if you've got any experience of this, genuinely, because I learn a lot from the comments. The body seems to know that if you strap a jet to it, and there's a rocket motor sitting right behind you, you put it down the locks of Scotland at 250 feet at 600 knots in the dark, and you're in a cloud, and you're just looking at a little screen that's like this big to make sure that the jet's not going to fly into a mountain. The body seems to know that that's a really bad place to be. And it doesn't do anything about it until you leave. It's in like a survival mode, and you come out and shit falls apart. So this wing commander, my advice really is, if you've really contributed heavily into the military, don't expect a soft landing. I think the worst thing you could probably have is a soft landing. I'd expect for a massive crash into a wall, but hopefully you realise it's going to end. And it's nice. I bought a watch when I left that didn't keep accurate time, because I was working for this company that wasn't paying me. It's like work for equity, you know, that kind of shit. I left eventually after 6 months because I was the only person in meetings. Everyone had one of those Zoom camera things on, and everyone had it on, like the camera wasn't on, but my camera was on, and they're all talking about engineering. Well, say it was an engineering meeting. I was more in strategy. I was the only person talking. And I'm looking at all these other people in engineering and marketing and everything else, and they've all got their cameras off, and I'm the only person talking. Weirdest thing. And eventually I just said, look, I'm not getting paid. Everyone else was on some kind of retainer. I felt really undervalued. So I left that company. It's still going. They're a good bunch of dudes, actually, to tell you the truth. I just left them. And everything I earned from them, I put back into the company as equity. That's what I was earning, as equity. So it's kind of weird. I wouldn't have believed it. I felt, you know what I mean, that when you leave, I thought things would just sort themselves out. I don't know why, but it's not like that out here. And I like it. I'm really into it now. I love the fact you can switch and you can move from one thing to another, and it's volatile, and some things don't work, and people just fucking lie to you. I have people write to me all the time. I love emails like this, by the way. Hey Tim, how can I have a cushion landing? And my answer is, you probably can't, but just look after yourself, you know, fitness, family, finance, all that kind of stuff. Really hit some kind of fitness profile, you know, all the good stuff. Eat healthily, get sleep, and also realize how damaged you probably are. That's the best piece of advice. I really want to talk about something else, but that's the best piece of advice I can give you, is just recognize the trauma that you've carried. I'm not saying it's a massive trauma. It's made up of many, many micro traumas. I once helped a guy out who was on a minesweeper. I don't even want to go into this story, but he was carrying huge trauma because of leadership failures. He was on a minesweeper that they sent up in Iraq. They sent him up this channel to go and sweep mines on another channel further up. But what they failed to tell him was the channel he was going up was actually mined itself. So he went straight through this channel, and then he was messed up PTSD wise because he'd been lied to by his leadership, who he really trusted. And I think I came out of the military with a little bit of that, although I served with some really good people, so I was quite lucky. I get a lot of people write to me, Tim, I'd love to stop by and talk to you about this. Tim, I'd love to you know, have a one-to-one and go into my experience of this problem I've had in the military, whatever. And these problems are your problems to deal with. They're not my problems. No one else can solve them. That's another thing that I had to learn myself. Like, no one's coming to save you at all. When you leave the military, no one gives a fuck about you. Okay, I'm going to caveat that. What I mean is, no one that you've left people in the military, they don't care. When you leave the crew room, like in your squadron, no one remembers you, and rightly so. We don't want to remember someone that's doing something we don't want to do, or something that we've got to do in the future. So if someone's leaving the military, we don't want to remember that guy, because they remind us of the fact that we're going to have to leave the military at some point and have to go through all that stuff that they're going to go through. And so you don't want to lean back onto them. No one contacted me. I didn't speak to a guy in the military for 4.5 years. I didn't contact him either. I had no contact with anyone in the military. I've been out for 5.5 years now. Maybe the odd guy, maybe like one guy wrote to me or something, but really was a massive detachment. And I think that's probably the best thing. And life did go up afterwards. I stopped drinking, as I said, 15 months ago. So, and I still, like tonight, it's a beautiful night out there. My wife is somewhere else. She's doing something, and I could smash some beers right now, like you read about. But, you know, I'm looking at myself as someone that you need to take care of, and I think that's a pretty good way of doing it when you leave the military. Just get into that kind of weird stuff of looking after yourself. You know, make sure you have got some kind of routine. You'll miss routine. I love routine. And I realized, having tried to get out of routine into this, hey, we'll turn up to meetings at any time. Hey, no worries. I can't do that. Like, for 20 years, my life was lived to the second. Bombs, plus or minus 4 seconds on a target. The briefs we did was 3, 2, 1, hack, brief. I can't get out of it. And I don't want to get out of it. It was too hard to try and change that. I used to go to briefs. I was 5 seconds early for brief. I was in there when I was with this other job. No one else turned up for the next 10 seconds or 2 minutes or 5 minutes. I used to drive me mad. I like to think that I'm calmer with that now, but I still love structure. And I think structure is good. I think structure is healthy. So I probably haven't answered the question there. The main thing, what I'm telling you is, if you have a soft landing when you leave the military, you probably haven't been involved in the military in a way that you should have been, because we know it's full on. We know the days are long. We know people that we work with die. We know it's a career like no other. And when you come out, embrace that shock, recognize it for what it is. You know, it's something you've done. Be really proud of it. It's something that a lot of people wouldn't ever be able to do or don't ever do. And I am proud of what I did and proud of the people I served with. And there were some really good people. And this is the next step. Look at it like the next chapter in your life. And hopefully it is hard, because we don't gain anything. We don't gain any strength from things that are easy. We only gain strength from things that are difficult. All right. We only gain the strength from stresses. So embrace that. I'm going to leave it, guys. But look, I appreciate it. Hey, and also in the comments are really useful. I point people to the comments of these videos. When people write to me and saying, hey, check the comments, scroll through the comments. I think the second to last video, like 4,000 comments. So, you know, I try to go through all of them, but I really appreciate it, guys. I'm going to drop off now. Appreciate it anyway. Tim Davies, Fast Performance.